Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Pink Cloud Frequency podcast, an alcohol-free podcast for women. I am your host, Brianna Wynn. Thank you for joining me. Today, we are going to discuss whether or not you are creating a sober, supportive environment for yourself. So most people don't relapse because they don't want sobriety enough, but they relapse because they're still living in environments that pull them back. Wanting an alcohol free lifestyle and creating an alcohol free lifestyle are two different things. So, today we'll review how much your inputs matter because they dictate your outputs. And we'll look at some ways you can create an environment for yourself that supports your goals because sobriety isn't only what you stop consuming, but what you start consuming in its place. So whether you're on day one, day 10 or 10 years, this is always going to be important, but it's especially significant if you're early into your journey because the beginning days can be some of the most daunting. And I know that to be true because I'm still in the beginning days myself. So if you've made the decision to quit, how are you maintaining? Because if you're like me and almost your entire friend group drinks and all your mom friends drink and your family drinks and every event you show up for, everyone drinks, that's not always easier, right? But it's so important to have that space, that sober space, and to just create that environment yourself and to have those reinforcements in place because your environment beats your intention. Okay. And I'm going to say that again. Your environment beats your intention every single time. So write that down because our brains learn through repetition, through cues, and through social reinforcement. So you can have the best intentions in the world to want to do something, but in order to actually be able to do it, you have to be in that environment that supports those goals for you. Okay. So, one of the very first things I did, even before I quit drinking, was to join a Facebook group for sober moms. I joined this group in November 2024. And initially, it was kind of like a deep sigh because I'm like, am I really joining a Facebook group for sober people right now? Like, at that time, it wasn't my intention to become sober or completely abstain from alcohol. But the other part of me, felt a sense of surrender in a way. Like, I hate the way that I feel right now in this moment. And yes, I am joining this group because I just want to see what it's all about, right? And joining that group really it brought on a sense of relief for me. And at the time, I was only a silent observer, but I was able to read other people's stories and people who were celebrating sobriety and, stories of other people who were struggling a little bit more. I would say there was about 80,000 women in that group, I want to say. So you're going to get posts from, varying degrees. And the one thing, I have learned about decision making is that when you feel the desire to change something in your life, the desire to do something different in your life, you must do at least one thing in that moment to carry that decision through, right? So when I felt hungover and shitty on that November day, making that decision to join that group had already set plans in motion that I couldn't see for myself in that instance, right? But subconsciously, it's like our brains were taking in all this messaging and I'm seeing posts and now I know, hey, I'm not alone and there's a lot of people who are actually going through what I am right now, what you are right now, right? And our brains are sort of like behind the scenes on one hand, trying to cling on to what's comfortable, but then on the other hand, collecting all of this new information and trying to assimilate it and form a new identity for ourselves. So that's really the power of our minds. And joining that one group had just a huge impact on me. So, my first suggestion to you would be, if you are online, if you are on social media, join a free Facebook group like I did. Not only are there a ton of different Facebook groups, but there are also paid communities you can be a part of that offer more personalized experiences, right? So maybe you don't use Facebook and that's fine, and you're on Instagram or whatever the case is, but start following people who are sober, because if you do that and you're watching that content, those algorithms are going to start bringing more of that content to you. So first and foremost, I just say, because our phones are such a big part of our lives today and because we're always on social media, um, always just go on social media. It's a very low barrier connection. It provides validation and real-time support, okay? The next suggestion I have to create a sober, supportive environment is to listen to podcasts, okay? So no, it doesn't have to be this podcast. There's a ton of podcasts out there, and for one reason or another, we all resonate um a little bit differently to different messaging or the way someone communicates or their voice, right? I'm a voice person, so I've heard certain podcasts and I love the content, but I literally cannot listen to it because the voice, it just doesn't sit well with me. So, you know, find a podcast that you enjoy, find two or three or four or whatever it is, because you can listen to those podcasts on your drive to work or while you're exercising or while you're cooking. It's like you just plug in your headphones or you listen to it on your Bluetooth speaker and you fit the podcast in when it's convenient for your schedule, right? You can search episodes that are a certain length of time. And usually with podcasts, maybe you only need one a day or one a week to help keep you grounded. I know when I first stopped drinking, I mean, I listened to podcasts like they were my job, literally. I mean, for hours a day, I would listen to them. Um, and they just helped me really understand myself better, right? And podcasts can provide, I would say, companionship during lonely moments, or if you feel like you're having a triggering moment, a podcast is just a great way to interrupt what you're feeling in that moment. And again, you can choose to do that listen for 10 minutes or listen for an hour, but it's your choice. You get to choose. And that's something I love. And I really do appreciate them, especially early on, because I feel like they help you solidify your why and they help you learn from multiple different perspectives. And again, if one doesn't resonate with you, find another one that does. But the best, coolest thing about podcasts, it's like they're right at your fingertips versus maybe a book you might need to go buy or go rent from the library or whatever the case is. Podcasts are just super accessible. And then the other thing is, the shame or the stigma that you might feel, say, if you were to join a Facebook community or to follow certain people or whatnot. Other people might be able to see that. And I know for a lot of people that can just be a huge barrier, because depending on what your job is or, who you are in your community, that can be tough. And some people just want to remain anonymous, and you can still remain anonymous in some groups, but I understand why a person may not feel entirely comfortable doing that. And so podcasts are sort of a way around that, right? Um, and then another very important, I would say, way to create a sober, supported environment is through therapy, right? Um, People who consume alcohol as a solution to a problem usually have some problems that haven't been addressed, some underlying issue, some form of trauma. Maybe it's big, maybe it's small, maybe it's from childhood, but there's something that's occupying their mental and emotional state. And with therapy, it's tailored to you, right? You are there to figure your shit out one-on-one with another person who is trained and educated to help you figure it out. And you can go to therapy online, you can go to therapy in person, but you do so on your time. And I think with therapy, you're paying someone, right? And usually this may not be the case for 100% of people, but for most people, when you're paying someone to do something or to get somewhere with you, it's like you're usually a lot more invested in trying to resolve that problem. So if I go and I pay a therapist, you know, $300 an hour to talk about my problem with me, I'm going to show up for that hour. I'm not just going to blow it off, right? I'm going to be there and I'm going to try to figure it out. So I think whether it's a therapist or it's a coach, the point here is really just getting to the root of why you drank in the first place. Maybe something was modeled for you as a child, or maybe you're running away from something, maybe you're running towards something. But either way, a therapist, a coach, that person can help provide those insights for you. Um, and that probably, I would say, is first and foremost. I don't want to say above everything else, but we can listen to the podcast and we can go on social media and we can do all those things. But if we're truly not getting to the root of our issues of why we drank in the first place, then chances are we will continue um to go down that road again and again. And maybe not immediately, but maybe a year later or 2 years later, or whatever the case is. So figuring out who you are and your motivations, your behaviors, your patterns, your childhood trauma, all those things, super, super, super important. Um, And of course, if we're talking about a sober supported environment or an alcohol-free environment, whatever you want to say, we would be remiss not to mention, at least in some part, AA, which is Alcoholics Anonymous. And so I'm not here to debate whether it's good or it's bad. I've never once stepped foot in a meeting. My father, he used to go. He had a sponsor, and I know he read the big book, and that was a thing for him. That's what I know. I can't speak from a firsthand experience. Some people say great things about it, and I think if that's what you need, in-person meetings are more of an upfront experience, or even just having a sponsor that you can call on any time of the day, then go. It's like meetings, whether online or in person, they help with structure. They help with accountability, in feeling a little bit more ritualistic, right? And just building it into your schedule. It's like I've heard people say when they first stop drinking, they go to 30 meetings in 30 days. I mean, that's kind of cool. It's a little bit of a challenge for yourself, but it gives you a way to show up, to be accountable, not just to yourself, but to another community of people, and to a community of people who have also gone through what you're going through. And one of my best friends, she's been sober for, I think, over 12 years at this point, and I know she attended meetings, and she still does here and there. And I know that she still actively communicates with her sponsor. So to each their own, right? I mean, she's 12 years sober. That's something she should be proud of. That's not an easy thing to do with or without meeting. So I just like to say, nobody knows what you need more than you. If you feel like you need to go to a meeting, go to a meeting. If you don't feel like a meeting resonates with you and going to one, don't go to one, right? Just do what feels right for you and know that there are multiple paths that lead to the same place. Okay? It's about taking action. It's not necessarily what someone else says that action step should be for you. It's about you taking actions that are in alignment with your goals and also with your true self. And so with that, I want to talk about, who are the people that you surround yourself with, right? Who's in your community? Who are your friends? Are there family members or people you can call on to talk on the phone or to just meet up with? Do you have coworkers who may also be sober? Um, Try to form bonds with new people, right? Because your circle undoubtedly will change, even if that's not your intention. If you're okay being in environments where people drink, which personally I am, I don't have an issue with that at all. Sometimes those same people are not comfortable with a non-drinker. And that's usually the case for most people, unfortunately, because people feel judged and people feel like, you're monitoring their intake or whatever the case is. And then they have to come to terms with their own relationship with alcohol and maybe how they're abusing alcohol, and they're not ready to face that reality yet, right? So you being a non-drinker is going to interfere with socializing with people who are drinkers, even your best friends. So all I want to say is be open-minded and be willing to connect with new people and make new friendships anywhere you can. Some of those Facebook groups I mentioned before and online communities, they do meetups. They'll do little sober vacations and stuff like that. So there's options out there for you. Just be open. Be open to it. And what's equally important is don't put yourself in environments if or where your sobriety isn't supported. So if you're on day 7 and you're trying to figure this out, maybe skip the work dinner where everyone will be drinking, right? Maybe go home after your child's game and refrain from meeting up for drinks after or before. Avoid any celebratory event if you're not yet comfortable in your sobriety. And I know that's easier said than done, and especially for women, because I think we just naturally want to connect with other people. But it's really that simple if you allow it to be, right? It's like you have to find other ways to celebrate eventually. And if you feel guilt maybe for missing a commitment or something like that, it's like find another way to honor it, right? Maybe you tell your friend you're not up for the birthday celebration with the girls, but you would love to grab a coffee or go to a yoga class together or do something different, right? Just don't give yourself to people, to places, or to things that do not support your growth, period. And this is in and out of sobriety. Do not ever put yourself in a situation where a person doesn't want to see you succeed or doesn't want to see you thrive, because we only have one life. We're here to grow. If we're not growing, we're dying, right? We're dead. If you don't grow, you're dead. If a plant, it's either a flower, it keeps growing. And if it's not doing that, why? It's because it's dead. And that's the whole point here. So I know that sounds a little bit drastic, but I think growth as individuals, as humans, like that's what we're here for, to constantly evolve. And so I think it's just super important to put yourself, to create those environments where you are able to do that, to be around people who want to see you be the best version of yourself, and don't put yourself in situations where people are going to say, oh yeah, no, come drink, haha, not a big deal. And then the next day you're stuck feeling like shit, but they don't care because they don't desire to go further or to grow, right? So don't be around those people. And again, I know that's hard, but it's life and you got to get over it. And I know because I'm apart from all of my best friends. So it's like I don't have the option to go grab lunch with them. Like one of my best friends, she's sober. She lives like an hour and a half away from me. So I don't even really see her that often. My other friends, they all live in different states. And then the people in my community, they pretty much all of them drink. So I don't, I can't just like go grab lunch with a sober friend. And I don't really need to because I have so many other things in place that I do that I enjoy that I'm fine. And I'm also fine with being around the people that I am who do drink because I have such a solid foundation that doesn't bother me. But I understand not everyone's there yet. And that's why it is so crucial to form the connections with your sobriety in the ways that you can, whether it's social media or podcasts or therapy or meetings or whatever it is, because it's like, that's how you build that foundation. If I'm going to go out at night with some moms and they're all going to be drinking, maybe it's a good idea for me to listen to a podcast that morning and remind myself why I'm doing this. Maybe it's a good idea for me to go on Facebook, read a couple posts of some women who went and indulged the night before and they didn't want to when they were 6 months sober, but they did anyway, and how much shame and guilt that they felt from that, right? Like I can read that and I don't need to go through that to know how much that hurts. I can just see it and be like, oh, okay, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be in that situation, so I'm not going to do that. But what's important, is just really embodying the message that aligns with your new identity and then choosing the environments that support it. And if you are in a position where you can't choose them, you create them. So my one question to leave you guys with is, to ask yourself about your current environment. Who are you allowed to be here? Is your environment uplifting you? Is it helping you maintain an alcohol-free lifestyle? Is it allowing you to feel the pride and the joy and the peace and the happiness that come along with sobriety? Or is your environment making you feel stuck? Do you keep scrolling through photos of old friends drinking on vacation? Does your family or spouse keep reminding you of how you behaved last year when you were drunk, right? It's like, that's not very uplifting. You want to be uplifted. You want to be supported, and you deserve to feel that way, and you deserve to make other people feel that way. The same way you would do that for your child if you have kids and you always want them to feel good about who they are and help them feel confident and positive. It's like you have to do that same thing for yourself, and you have to be around people who do that for you, right? And if people aren't doing that for you, they are not your people, period. That's it. And do what you need to do. Put up your boundaries. Say no, okay? Say no. You don't want to go out. You don't want to do this. You don't want to be around those people. Just do what you need to do. Create an environment where you can be the best version of yourself. So thank you for listening today. I hope you got some good suggestions. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider leaving a 5-star review, and I will talk to you soon. Have a good day.